I bought this dinosaur themed motel and turned it into a boutique Airbnb resort. 1 year, 2 private jet trips, $1.2 million in repairs later, we're done, it's on the market. In this video, I wanna walk you through this crazy process from us getting the property under contract, why we took a private jet down to look at it, and then talk about how the deal was structured, all the issues that we had to overcome, and what the place looks like now, and what's the expected cash flow and the new expected value. A lot to cover in this video, so let's just get the ball rolling. Before we do that, hit that like button if you like me to go over real life examples so you can visualize and see me actually doing it in the real world. This was a cool deal and a fun deal and a frustrating deal, but as you will see by the story and the pictures, this is something you can repeat with any different type of real estate asset. So broaden your mind outside of boutique weird dinosaur resorts into whatever type of assets you want to invest in, because you can take this process and repeat it. So we got the deal brought to us by a local wholesaler in St. Louis. This property is actually down in Branson, Missouri, which if you don't know where that is in Southwest Missouri. It is one of the bigger tourist destinations in the Midwest, if not the country. You might not have heard of it because it's not super glamorous, but people in the Midwest and outside the Midwest flock there in droves of millions every single summer. There's a cool downtown area, lots of really fun lakes and rivers for fishing and boating. There's also Silver Dollar City, which is a ginormous theme park. So there's a lot to do and you don't have to spend a ton of money to do it. That's the draw of Branson, Missouri. This deal is located south of Silver Dollar City on Indian Point, which is an incredible location. It's close to Silver Dollar City, close to the marina, close to the lake. It's a really, really high quality location, but as you can see by the weird dinosaur pictures, it's not the most desirable actual property, or at least it wasn't. So we got it under contract after running rough numbers for $800,000, knowing that we were going to have to pay the wholesaler $50,000. So our all-in initial cost to buy this property was going to be $850,000. We did some initial budgets off of pictures and said, this might be a really good deal. This is probably worth going down and spending 4 or 5 hours in a car one way to drive down there, check it out, stay the night, and drive 4 or 5 hours back. However, we only had one shot. So what we wanted to do was take 7 or 8 of our team members, our property manager, project manager, rehab manager, and a few other key team members down there with us to look at it. So rather than having 8 employees who create a lot of revenue for us every single day, spend 2 days out of the office and 1 night without their family, we decided to rent a private jet to fly us down there in the morning, fly us back there in the afternoon, save 1 full day of work for 8 people, as well as allow our employees to spend an evening and night with their families, which they all love to do. At the end of this video, I will tell you how much that private jet trip cost. So financially, it made sense to fly down there, and fly down there we did. 25-minute flight as opposed to a 5-hour drive. So we got down there, checked out the property, took a bunch of pictures, met with a couple local project managers because we needed boots on the ground to actually manage the project. Then we met with a couple property managers because we needed boots on the ground to actually manage the property after we got it rehabbed. So we got a good feel for the property, got a ton of pictures for a full rehab budget, and also got some good feelings about 2 contractors that we were going to work with to complete the project and then manage the project after the fact. The fact that all those boxes were checked, we decided to move forward with the deal. Now let's talk about our initial budget and how we got the deal funded on the front end. After running our numbers on the plane, we saw that the property would probably need about $400,000 to $500,000 worth of work. But once we got home and really ran to the numbers and got some bids, we saw that we were gonna have to probably spend about $700,000 on repairing this 20-unit hotel. So our initial budget, $850,000 for the purchase, plus $700,000 for the rehab, meant we needed to come up with $1.55 million to buy and repair the property and get it ready to rent. We went to one of the small local banks that we work with here in the area that happens to lend down there, because the owner of that bank that we know personally likes to fish down there on that lake, so they are happy to do loans down there. They said they would lend us 75% of that $1.55 million, meaning they would lend us enough to buy the property and enough to fix up the property up to 75% all in. So that meant we had to come up with 25%, or around $387,500 in money to put down to the bank so we get the rest funded by the bank. In In order to do that, we went to 4 different private lenders that we had worked with in the past and got $110,000 from each of them, which obviously adds up to $440,000. We were trying to be smart, which we were not, you will see here in a minute, and get a little bit of extra slush fund. So we got $440,000 raised. We put $387,500 down on the property of the bank with a little bit extra, and we started rehabbing. This is where things took a hard left. We ran into issues that cost us an additional $500,000 on top of the $700,000 we already had in the budget. I'm going to explain what those issues are and then talk about how much they cost and then talk about how the heck we were able to get another $500,000 out of pocket, not our pocket. My leg's falling asleep. That's a thing now, isn't it? Oh, ow. The first issue was the parking lot. We planned to just seal the parking lot. We expected a $10,000 or $15,000 bid for that. However, once we dug into a little bit more, we noticed that the asphalt was super uneven and held water and didn't seem to drain. So we found out that the asphalt was poured directly on top of dirt and clay with no rock foundation underneath it. So that wasn't gonna fly for us because we don't like to half-ass things. We want it to be nice and sustainable and maintenance free. We ended up having to tear up the entire parking lot, haul all the asphalt away, haul a ton of dirt away, bring in a rock base, then pour brand new 4 or 5 inch asphalt with drainage systems underneath it to make the parking lot sustainable and maintenance free, which cost us at least $100,000 more than we planned to spend. The next thing was the HVAC and electrical system. We didn't know exactly what was behind all the walls, obviously, but once we started to dig in, we saw that the electrical system was very outdated and very dangerous. So we decided rather than to patch it back together, to put in an entire new electrical system, which then allowed us to put in really nice split HVAC units in each unit. So we made it nicer and a lot safer. However, that cost us an additional $150,000 in a budget that we did not plan for. And the third biggest issue that we did not see coming was the water. So this is on a well, and we got the water tested, and we noticed that the previous owner had bypassed the filtration system because it was old and outdated and needed a lot of repairs, and the water coming out of the well, out of the faucets for people to drink and bathe and do whatever in, was extremely dangerous. You drink enough of that and you're going to get a tummy ache. So we had to completely rip out the filtration system, put a brand new one with this huge water tank to help filtrate everything and have the water be clean and purified, which we ended up doing, and it's great. It passed all the occupancy and codes needed. However, it cost us an additional $100,000 more than we planned to spend. The rest of it were just kind of ancillary things that made us go over budget, but you can see how quickly we went from a $700,000 rehab to a $1.2 million rehab. The property when we bought it was 20 units. We got it down to 80 by combining a couple units. There are 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, as well as a few studio units as well. So there's a really, really good mixture that people can stay by themselves or with a family. There's also a really cool big building in the back of this that was storage for all the weird dinosaur stuff. We ended up taking about half of that and turning it into a clubhouse with some arcade games, ping pong table, board games, a TV, couches, where if it's raining, people can go hang out there with their families, or if the parents want a break from their kids, they can just shove them down there. So that's a cool, unique benefit that not everything has down there. We took the back half of that building and turned it into storage. As you can see, we needed to come up with an additional $500,000. So how we did that was we went to each of those 4 private lenders, explained the situation, showed them the numbers, and they each gave us another $40,000. So we brought each of their total from $110,000 to $150,000. So we got more money from them, which then allowed us to borrow more money from the bank. And that allowed us to get to that initial $500,000. Plus, we ended up coming out of pocket a little bit to make it all whole. But don't worry, there is a silver lining. You will see the new value at the end of this, and you'll see we'll be able to get all of our money back. Now let's recap the numbers. So we bought it for $850,000 and ended up putting in about $1.2 million. So we have a little over $2 million into this deal on a construction loan and private money lender loan. Judging by cash flow and the increased condition of the property, we're very, very positive, and we're very, very conservative in the fact that next year at this time, after a year of being in service, because we just went in service a couple weeks ago, that this property will be valued at a minimum of $3 million, probably closer to $3.5 million. So assuming we rent the property out for market rate and market occupancy, the building will be worth $3 million, and we'll get a new 80% loan on that. So we would take that $2.4 million loan, pay back our loans to the bank, pay back our private money lenders their money plus interest, and we should have enough left over to even have a little bit of a slush fund for when things break and things happen, because obviously that happens. So what we basically did was we increased the value and increased the equity, therefore increased the cash flow enough to make the property worth enough where we could pull money out of that equity and pay everybody back and still own the property 100% outright using none of our own money. This is a repeatable process that we have done on 6 separate apartment complexes and 3 separate storage facilities, so it does work in different types of asset classes. It was a wild ride. We do this crazy cool stuff all the time, and speaking of wild rides, that private jet trip there and back in one day cost us about $14,000. So when you think about it, taking 8 or 9 people there and back in a day and allowing them to work a full day the next day, hopefully they were able to recoup that. Plus, it was a really, really cool experience. Not bragging on a private jet. I don't make enough money to own one, so we're not saying that, but it was cool to rent one for a day. So that's what you get here on the Faster Freedom Show channel. You get our podcast twice a week where Luke and I have a ton of fun and have amazing guests, but you also get educational and hopefully somewhat entertaining videos where I go over real life things that we are doing so you can take nuggets from them and implement them in your everyday life. There's only so much I can give you on social media, so this is my best way to give you as much as I can. And if you want more, of course, I have a community mentorship we can talk about. You can DM me on Instagram or check the show notes below for a free training that will go through that all. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you learned anything, were entertained at all, please make sure you hit that like button, especially if you're still watching at this point. Either way, looking forward to have you hear more of the podcast as well as see more videos like this. See you on the next one.